Coming to you from the city that now hosts the show that our guest won 7 years ago, it's Ventriloquism Weekly. It was at college orientation that I first heard word that Terry Fator was going to come on this program, that he had an interest in coming on and doing it. And there's a bit of a story behind that. I had given him the information about the program at Vent Haven in July of 2013. Well, about a week later, I'm here in Manhattan doing my 2-day college orientation. And on the first day, they put us in writing and math placement testing, and they actually collect our phones. For about a 3-hour period, I was without my phone, so I was not right in the head. I mean, well, I am not right in the head, but for about 3 hours, I was going wonky without my phone. So as soon as I got done, I went over to the closet and got it off the shelf, and I saw I had a missed call from the West Coast, and I was a little baffled by this. I didn't put 2 and 2 together at the time. I called it back. There was no identification, nothing. She just picked up, said, "This is so-and-so." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. There was no message. I just wanted to call this back. Maybe it was the wrong number." "Oh, no. Were you interested in setting up an interview with Terry Fator?" Yeah. So we finalized the plans to do our first ever interview, which aired back in August. It was our 6th episode. We finalized those plans in, at the time, what was just to me a random building in New York. So it was kind of weird and really, really cool to get to do that like that. And if you ever, I'm digressing here, but if you ever see me and I have my school ID on me, the picture on that school ID, I normally don't like to talk about my being photogenic because I'm not, but I like the smile I have on my face, and I'm actually looking at it right now, because I'm thinking about getting to do the interview with Terry, and I'm just over the moon for this college orientation. And so I digress with this story only because it really feels like a full circle moment for me and for the program to get to have him back as while I am here and running the program out of the dorm room at the college I was oriented to the first time I ever heard he was interested in the program. And that's the point. He loves you guys. He really loves this community so much. I got to ask maybe 3 questions in my time with him. When that's not a complaint, that's an observation, because he was just off and running. I can't wait for you guys to hear it, and I'm going to shut up in just a second. He really, really just wants to use this astronomical success that just, the stars aligned, as he talks about. He wants to use this crazy sort of uber super success to really help this community understand how we can be successful in our own ventures. And to me, that's the definition of giving back and giving to a community. He really cares. He really loves us, and he really loves getting to talk to ventriloquists about ventriloquism. And so I'm going to be quiet right now, and you guys are going to spend about the next 25 minutes or so listening to what the great Terry Fator has to say. Mr. Terry Fator, welcome back to Ventriloquism Weekly.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And real quick, before we get started, we were bored on a snow day, and I asked some of our group members on Facebook to played a little guessing game to see who would be returning to the podcast, and 4 people guessed that it would be you. I just told them real quick, I'd mention them while I was on with you. Pam Brooks, Tyler Ellis, your old friend Christopher Ortiz, and of course our buddy Steve Axtell. Although it wasn't fair, I had told him that I was going to have you back on, but he put a little hyphen in the comment for hyphen, so he gets points for creativity. But so it really is great to have you back, and you've been up to a lot. What's been going on? 5 years at the Mirage.
It's just been insane, and I think I think the thing that made it happen and made the fact that I was able to go 5 years is that I've constantly kept the show fresh and new, and I've rewritten the show entirely from top to bottom 8 times in 5 years, and that's not just the Mirage show. I wrote a completely separate road show so that I could do something different when I travel around. I've written 2 Christmas shows, entirely different Christmas shows, and then changed the show pretty much once a year for the 5 years here at the Mirage. And, that is so important. A lot of people wonder how to be successful in this business. And the main thing is you just have to keep working. When I went on America's Got Talent, I was just one of the hundreds of thousands of other people that went. And then there was a couple of thousand, 2,000 or 3,000 of us that had made it to the Las Vegas section. And when we got there, they had the gentleman who started the Blue Man Group. I'm sure you've heard of them, right?
Yes, absolutely. I just went to see him the other day, ironically.
Yeah, so the guy who started the Blue Man Group, he came up and got up and gave a speech. And, we were all just kind of sitting there in this large, humongous room, and there's thousands of us. And he said, don't think that if you win this that your journey is over. I just want you to know, if you do win this and you want to be successful, that's just when the work starts. And I see so many people that are ventriloquists and that they don't take that very seriously. They don't take the fact that they really do need to work hard and to make sure that they have lots and lots of fresh material, constantly looking for new material. And I have writers now, and that does make it easier. But I'll tell you something. I come up with every major idea for my show. All the writers do is help me hone it and get it. But every single idea that I come up with that you see in my show was come up with something I came up with and that I wrote. And so, people just, if you want to be successful, you have to work. And it's very, very difficult to succeed if you're not working. And if you're doing the same show, if you're a ventriloquist and you want to be successful and you want to get into the next level, and you're still doing the same material you were doing 10, 15 years ago, that's not going to work. Not only that, there is so much new stuff that's happening. It's a completely different world. If you're still doing Bill Clinton jokes, you need to get into the 21st century. So you have to be, you can't be doing Richard Nixon jokes and Bill Clinton jokes, and at this point, it's even hard to do George W. Bush jokes because we're, 6 years since that. So it's just a matter of continuing to keep up with what's happening and making sure that everything is fresh and new. And, that's really what's happened is every time people come to Vegas, if they come out and see my show, they get to see a fresh new show.
Absolutely.
And that's really why, I've got people that have seen me, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And every time they come, they say, wow, I see something different. Well, that's because my show is evolving, and they might see, 50 or 60% what the same as they did last year, but they're going to see 30 or 40% new material,
Absolutely. And how challenging is it, especially someone who's been in the same place, how challenging is it creatively to turn that around, more times per year, more times you say you've turned it around than actually years you've been there. So how challenging is that to do that?
It's very challenging. It's a very difficult thing to do. But, again, it gets easier the more you do it. So something I don't think people understand is that while, if you're just now starting out and you say, I'm not a good writer. I just don't write very well. Well, of course you're not a good writer. You're just starting out. Mm-hmm. You're going to get better at it as you do it. No one ever gets better at anything until they do it. And you have to start with bad material before you ever come up with good material. So don't judge yourself on your first routine or your first 20 routines or your first 100 routines. A good friend of mine who also writes for me wrote for Jay Leno for 22 years. Mm-hmm. And I was asking him, he said that he wrote 422,000 jokes. He has them all in his computer. 422,000 jokes, and he said probably 99% of those never got aired.
Really? Wow.
But he had a very successful career because even if 1% of 422,000 jokes get on the air, or 10% of those jokes, that's 40,000 jokes.
Right.
So you got to realize that you have to write the bad before you can write the good. You can't expect everything you do to be magic and gold. And believe me, for every great routine I've come up with, I've probably ditched 5 or 10, And you have to come up with the routine, you have to develop it, you have to practice it, and then if it doesn't work, you start over and you do another routine until you come up with something that is just really good. And what happens is you begin to get instincts of what is going to work, especially if you start to get to know your audiences by performing and performing and performing. Then you start to realize what does work and what doesn't. And you're going to find that you're going to come up with less and less routines that don't work. And most of the routines you come up with work. But until, I think it was Edison that said there's really no such things as failure. I think it was like, I think they said he failed 1,000 times to create a light bulb. And he said, I didn't fail. I just found 1,000 ways to not make a light bulb,
Yeah.
And that's really how you have to look at it. You have to realize that it's an ongoing process, and there's never a time. Well, if you want to continue success, you could go on a show and win it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you win it, you can sit back and go, man, I won it, that bit, and that'll be the greatest thing you ever did. Or you can continue to work and continue to blossom and continue to grow. And by doing that, you can continue to be successful. And obviously, the universe all came together for me. And everything was just a perfect alignment for me to be able to win America's Got Talent and then headline at the Mirage. If I had won this year or last year, there wouldn't have been a slot at the Mirage. They would have already had somebody. It just happened that they were ready to change somebody that they'd already had for 18 years, and they were looking for something new. So, everything kind of aligned for me. The stars all aligned for me. And that may never happen for most of the people that try it. But, there is a level of success that you can have. And let me tell you something. Even if you never, sign a $100 million contract or do like Jeff Dunham and have make millions and millions of dollars doing it, if you get to be a ventriloquist, if you're a ventriloquist and you get to be a ventriloquist and that's what you do for a living,
Mm-hmm.
you are a success.
Well,
that
great.
is successful, because I'll tell you something. The vast majority of people in this world don't get to do what they love to do for a living. And if you're working cruise ships or you're working fairs, and that's the interesting thing about me is before America's Got Talent, I was playing fairs, I was doing schools, but I was making a living, and I didn't have to work at a fast food restaurant, and I didn't have to sell insurance.
Right.
I got to play with my puppets, I got paid for it, and I considered myself a success. And really, dreams like mine and Jeff Dunham's, they come through years and years and years of hard work. For me, all the hard work happened behind the scenes. Nobody ever knew who I was until 2007 when I went on America's Got Talent. The ventriloquist community was kind of blindsided by me.
Right,
Whereas
exactly.
Jeff Dunham, he goes in and we saw him. My goodness, I was I saw him when I was 11 years old in Dallas. And then I watched him when he was on Hollywood Squares, and I watched him when he was on The Tonight Show. So I got to see Jeff kind of evolve in his career. Some of them will have his type of career where you're going to be making lots of appearances on television and work your way up. And it's funny because somebody, a few years ago, somebody wrote an article for a horrible ventriloquist magazine that I hope is no longer in existence. But in it, they were accusing me of taking the easy road, and they were just comparing me to Jeff Dunham, and they were saying that, Jeff worked his way up. Terry took the easy road. I'm like, the easy road? Are you kidding me? I've done 100,000 shows. I was performing at elementary schools. I was doing fairs. I was playing 5 shows a day at the crappy little fair in the dirt next to the the petting zoo. And you're telling me I took the easy way? It's like, what are you talking about? I was so angry.
No,
I even wrote a very, very angry email to the writer of that article, and I was just like, "Who in heaven's name do you think you are?" And look, just because you didn't see me working doesn't mean I wasn't. And I'm here to tell you, you will never ever be successful at this unless you work. And if you think that it is not a destination. Success is not a destination; it is a continuation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can become incredibly successful, and if you're still doing the same material you were doing 30 years ago, you're eventually going to fall off, and you're not going to be able to maintain. I've got 5 years now at the Mirage. It's amazing. It's an incredible achievement. The people here in Vegas are telling me that it is so incredibly rare for anyone to make it 5 years straight, especially at one casino, because people bounce from casino to casino to casino. And I'm, here I am, become a staple at the Mirage, and it's because I work and I work and I work. I go on vacation and I work. I go on and I'm laying on the beach and I'm thinking, okay, this would be a great routine. That would be a fun thing. And that, my friend, is the key to success.
Absolutely. And so, for a specific example, you're 5 years in the new DVD, Live in Concert. The specific example that really branches off of what you were saying is your Cher impression. I remember from the first DVD and from seeing you live a few times, you used to do your Cher impression as the mask routine, but now you do it with Barry. So that's the situation where you're writing new stuff, you're doing new stuff. It's the same impression, but you decided to change characters with it. Can you talk a little bit about that thought process to switch that over?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was doing Sonny and Cher, and that was a routine that I was doing when I was playing elementary schools back years ago,
Hmm.
before America's Got Talent, and and it was just kind of one of those little routines that I had that I was doing, and I was able to, afford, once I won America's Got Talent, I was able to afford a bigger mask. But to me, it wasn't really a Cher impression. It was Sonny and Cher. It was more about the mask. It was more about the person I pull up. And I created the character of Barry Fabulous. The way I create my characters is I decide what type of music do I want to sing. And I thought, I really don't have any show tunes, and I don't have anyone who sings divas.
Hmm.
And so I started thinking about it. I thought, is there a character in my act that can do that? And one thing you have to be very careful about when it comes to ventriloquism, and I talk about this a little bit on my alternate audio of my DVD, is that
Yes.
you have to be careful to keep your character consistent. And there's nothing wrong with changing a character, a puppet's character. If you feel like it's not working, feel free to change it. But once you settle into that character of that puppet, make sure that stays consistent. And every time you write a new routine, you have to measure it and say, wait a minute, is this something that this character would do, or is this something that character would do? Make sure, you don't want to just randomly be pulling jokes out, because people want to identify. They'll never identify with a character unless it's a solid character. You have to know exactly who you're writing for. So with that, I started thinking about it. I thought, okay, who do I have in my show now that can sing Judy Garland, Cher, Barbara Streisand? And I thought, well, I don't really have anybody that can do that.
Hmm.
So then I started thinking, okay, why don't I create a character? Well, we all know the stereotype of the flamboyant, person who dresses, the Liberace type character,
Yeah.
who's just over the top, who loves to sing those. And I thought, I'll create a character, and I named him Barry. And the little catchphrase that we use for Barry is, because we spell it Berry, not Parry. He says, oh, I tell you, Terry, the whole thing is that Giorgio needs more fruit and less cheese. And that's how I created the character. And I actually borrowed the voice from Hank Azaria in the Birdcage. Have you seen the Birdcage with
Yeah.
Agador Spartacus?
Years ago, and I
little-
remember you talking about it on the DVD, the alternate audio. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly where I got the character from. And I just sort of borrowed the little voice a little bit and decided that was what I was going to do, and because it was a fun character, something people identify with, people love. And it's hilarious because people love Barry just because he's got such a fun voice and a funny voice. And that's the thing is, and I talk about this on the alternate audio as well. I'm a very, very strong believing Christian, very strong, and yet I have a character who is a druggie. I've got a character, who's flamboyant. We don't know if he's gay or not. He's never come out and said he was, but we think he might be because of the way he acts. But stereotypes doesn't always mean that you're that. And to me, it's about I'm creating characters that are real people, that are real characters. I'm not glorifying anything. I'm creating humor out of real people, and almost every single character that I have is based on somebody I know or have known. And even it's just a very fabulous character is based on Agador Spartacus a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
And even Agador Spartacus sang show tunes. I don't know if you remember when he said, "I could have danced all night,"
Yeah.
So I'm not now. I'm not saying that everybody has to do what I do. I mean, if you have a belief system and you feel that it would be wrong to do those, then don't.
Right.
But me, I don't. I do not feel any kind of a conflict with my Christian beliefs and creating characters like this because they're factual, real people. They're all real characters. I'm just finding humor. To me, humor can be found anywhere. And I'm not going to do anything explicitly dirty or straight out. I don't swear in my show ever.
Mm-hmm.
Other ventriloquists do, and I don't have a problem with that either. That's everybody has their own level of what they want to do in their show. And, if you feel that your show needs to be squeaky clean so that you can perform at a children's church, then by goodness, that's exactly what you should do. And I'm a Las Vegas entertainer. I mean, I perform on the Strip in Las Vegas, so I don't mind. Now, I don't feel the pressure that I have to create a character that's a little more. But I feel like that this is a perfect venue for me to have a character who might prefer to reside in Colorado.
Yes, Dougie, love Dougie.
Exactly.
Love Dougie. Again, going back to those stereotypes, that's one that if I'm showing your act to college kids, I go, okay, here's Dougie doing Guns N' Roses, and they just fall over because it's just wonderful. So it's about character, and just with creating this show, what sparked 4 years later the desire to team up with Lionsgate and do a DVD, not only commercially to give something to your fans, but creatively as a ventriloquist? Why did you say, okay, let's do one now?
I felt I was ready. I absolutely refused. I've had pressure from DVD companies and fans to put out another one, but until I'm ready, I'm not going to. Until I feel that I have. Well, first of all, there's two folds. First of all, I have to feel that the show is ready for DVD. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I also have to feel that I have something to offer after the DVD comes out that's just as good or better than what I'm offering now. And so a lot of it was, it took me years to put together the show that is on DVD right now. And once we decided to start to do this on DVD, I recorded it in, I think, October of 2012. Yeah, so October of 2012. And then immediately I started writing and thinking of, but even before I recorded it, I knew a basis of what my next show was going to be like, and I was very confident that the next incarnation of the show was going to be just as good or better. And I've proven myself right, because I feel that the show that I'm doing now at the Mirage, it's changed now. It's not the same as the DVD. Mm-hmm. And I feel that it's better than what's on the DVD, which is great, because in a few years, once I get this show completely perfected, then it's going to come out on DVD. But before I do that, I'm going to make sure I have my next show. So I refuse to put out a DVD until I know I'm going to have something as good or better to offer you when you come to the Mirage. Because really, it's all about you coming to see my performance. And, once I had that old school mentality, there were people that refused to go on television because they wanted to travel around for 20, 25 years. And if they went on television one time, a routine was gone. That was it,
Yeah.
And they couldn't use it anymore. Well, I kind of had that mentality in not 20, 25 years, but I'm going to look 3, 4 years down the road. Now I'm doing a Christmas show that I've perfected, that I feel like, man, it's incredibly good. I've done it for like the last 3, 4 years. We've changed it and honed it and gotten it perfect. Now it's ready. And so once I come up with the next idea for my next Christmas show, then we're going to take this one and I'll rewrite the one here. So it's a twofold process for me. It's not just, I'm going to put out a DVD for my fans, but I'm going to put out a DVD and make sure that you have just as good or better to come and see me when you come and see me in Vegas. And that's a lot of pressure. A lot of people don't, well, first of all, a lot of people don't have the work ethic to do something like that, because,
Exactly.
Most people, they want to get a show and then they want to just do it, and they don't want to write and write and write. Me, I can't stop. I'm a workaholic. I love thinking about the show. I love working on the show. We'll come in, yesterday we were here at 2:00 p.m. for a 7:30 show. We worked 5.5 hours and then did a show,
Mm-hmm.
To get it ready to go in. So that's me. I'm a workaholic. If you're not a workaholic, then, and you're happy with having the same show over and over for the next 20 years, great. I'm totally okay with what anybody wants to do, but I'm just trying to tell people are always like, what's the secret of success? The secret of success is, there is luck involved. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, the universe all aligned. The universe came together. Everything, as a Christian, I believe it was God who put it all together. But I'll tell you something. When God opens that door, if you are not prepared to go through it, that's not on him. That's on you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, God put this all together. He made America's Got Talent available for me, and he said, "Here you go, Terry. Now do what you can with it."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Here, I'm going to open up a door for you to perform at the Mirage, and 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 he said, now, what are you going to do with it? What did I do? I put together the best show that I possibly could. I put together such a good show at the Hilton that when the Mirage people came out to the Hilton, they were begging me to play here, and that was my contribution to the process. God's contribution to the process was making sure the Mirage needed somebody. My contribution was making sure that when they came out and saw me, they couldn't wait to get me in there, you see? And so it's great to pray, and it's great to ask God to help, and it's great, but, unless you're ready, God's great about opening those doors and windows for you, but if you're not ready to go through, then you certainly can't blame him for that.
That's certainly true. I won't regale you with my stories, but I suffice it to say that I very much, very, very much relate to that. And it's wonderful to know that hard work in the end, you end up, the surprises abound if you just do the work, and you could surprise yourself, certainly, because God surprises you.
But a lot of it has to come from the heart. You can't just look and say, I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna do that, and because I want to be famous or because I want to make millions of dollars. And my pride in my product came years before America's Got Talent. I said, even if I never get famous, even if I never make it, I want people, when they come and see me, I want people to say, that's the best ventriloquist I have ever seen. I cannot believe how good that guy is. Mm-hmm. And that comes from a pride in my own product, in what I am putting out. And it's then when you get to that point where you're not doing it because of the end goal of being rich and famous.
Right.
You're doing it because of the pride of because you want to be the best you could possibly be. That right there, my friend, is what is going to change the world for you.
Absolutely. And so that's the perfect segue into the last question I have for you today. Wonderful. Being here at school and knowing that the interview was approaching, my friends, oh, what are you doing with this podcast? I go, I'm going to interview Terry Fator. And they go, well, who's that? I say, he's a ventriloquist. And let me show you a video. And and they go, oh, I know that guy. And even though they may not have been able to make that direct connection, they know your story and they know you when they see you. So how does it feel to be the person with that story of the American dream coming true in such a huge and just glorious way, that all those years of hardship and working and the way you grew up, which you've been open about talking about, just coming together with this ultimate end of the golden road? How does it feel to be that person with that story?
It's pretty amazing, and it's very humbling. And there are different types of personalities in the entertainment world. You've got your narcissists who believe that they are the center of the universe, and to them it's a big deal and it matters. To me, it really doesn't matter. I mean, the only thing that matters for me is that I do a good show for my fans. And when I step out on that stage, it's never about, oh, look at me, I'm on a billboard, or look at me, I'm at the Mirage. It's about, you came to my show, and I'm going to make sure you get the best dang show you've ever seen in your life. That's what it's about for me. It's about night to night. It's about making sure my fans go home happy. And it's about making sure that my fans go home feeling like they've had a real experience. And so, I just don't get caught up in all of the, wow, I can't believe I'm famous, and I can't believe I'm on taxi cabs, and I can't believe, it's just, that doesn't matter. And it is pretty incredible, but it's just not something I spend a lot of time thinking about. My focus is on my show. My focus is on my fans. And so it's incredible. But, I think one day if I make it to be 80 or 90, then I can sit back and go, holy cow. But right now it's just all about making sure that I'm giving the best that I have to my fans. And that's what's so beautiful about the way I got my success, is that I didn't do this. And really nobody does it by themselves, but my fans actually literally had a hand in putting me where I am. Without their votes, I wouldn't be here. I was told by the people here at MGM Properties that they would have never, ever had me if I had not won the show. If I'd come in second, they would not, because they said, we're not going to have second best. We wanted only the best. It was because I won America's Got Talent. So therefore, when any person who watched me on America's Got Talent and voted for me comes here to the Mirage, they know that without them actually getting on the phone and voting, I would not be here. And that kind of gives us this special little relationship. So as humbled as I am that I'm here, and as amazing it is to be that guy, like you just said, who has that happen, it's absolutely incredible to know that I have this wonderful symbiotic relationship with every person that comes out there to see my show. That, you know what, we're kind of all in this together. This is all about all of us. And I think when somebody leaves my show and they feel this high because I've just given them, I've made them laugh, and I've made them cry, and I've made them feel every emotion you can imagine, and they leave, and I think there's almost a sense of pride in there, because they almost was like, I did that. I helped him do that.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's what I love the best about this, is that, I not only did I get here, but my fans are the ones who got me here, and that's just fantastic. I tell you, that's the best part of all of this.
And your fans are grateful. I'm grateful for you for coming back on, for coming on not once but twice. We're grateful for what you're doing for ventriloquism. We thank you for coming on and being so candid and discussing this art. And I do look forward to our next conversation. Thank you, Mr. Terry Fator.
You bet. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you again to Terry Fator for coming on the program. It was great to get to talk to you again. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you if you're listening out there. And to all of you other listeners, thank you for tuning in. One of the creative ventures we didn't get to talk about is his incredible album, It Starts Tonight, and I call it incredible. It's really good. And I'm not just saying that to build him up. I do this thing where if I'm walking down the street or I'm on the subway, I like to listen to some music. And I normally latch on to like one or two or three different albums and put them in rotation. And I'm really into Terry's album right now while I'm traveling. And it really is. There's fun songs, there's heartwarming songs, and there's heart-wrenching songs. It runs the gamut, just like his Las Vegas show. And if you're in the area and you can go see the Las Vegas show, you could get out there, go see it. I've seen the DVD, and just from what other people have said about the live experience is brilliant. And having seen the It Starts Tonight roadshow, if he comes to your town, it is a different show, so go see it. Go see both if you can. And the DVD, of course, Terry Fator live in concert, available for rental at Redbox. Terry said, I think maybe it was in this interview, or I know maybe it was in another interview, that it's the first concert that Redbox has ever done. So it's special and really, really cool. It's something special when Redbox picks it as their first concert. And it's available for DVD hard copy purchase at Walmart, and downloads are available on iTunes and anywhere I think you can get instant downloads legally. You can buy it like Amazon, iTunes, and on demand. Well, now, on to next week. We have our first ever female ventriloquist, April Brucker. I'm really, really excited to have her on. She's had a few infamous television appearances, and she's very open and excited to talk about her journey, her very unique, if not different journey in this art form. We at Ventriloquism Weekly want to hear everybody's story. So I can't wait to delve into more depth and go into that with a live in-person interview with April Brucker, who lives here in New York City, next week. We have that already done, and that will air on the 10th. So until then, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, you can find us in all your basic places. Facebook.com, it's a group, Ventriloquism Weekly -podcast for ventriloquists. Our hosting site is ventriloquismweekly.podomatic.com, ventriloquismweekly.podomatic.com. We are available on iTunes, and you can hit us up. Please, I know you're listening. If you have ideas for guests, have ideas for questions, or if you want to come on the show yourself, please email ventriloquismweekly@gmail.com. This is our community place to come and have discussion. So just interact. It's as interactive as you make it. So thank you for tuning in, and signing off for Ventriloquism Weekly. I'm Matt Bailey, reminding all you vents out there to keep talking for two.